What's good, y'all? Today I'm gonna be breaking down how to make super atmospheric R&B beats for Party Next Door. I'm gonna be breaking down how I made a beat from scratch inspired by No Chill, one of my favorite songs off of P4. As you can hear, the intro starts very minimalistically with very little instrumentation and a lot of texture, so I made a similar intro. I made this just by using a synth bass, vocal sample, textures, and some percussion. The intro to No Chill is pretty much the same thing. Another thing that's interesting about the bass line is that this note here comes in on the third beat of the second bar. You'd kind of want it to land on the third bar, but this adds a little interesting bounce to it, and it affects the drums as well, but we'll get into that later. For the next part of No Chill, the beat drops and more instrumentation starts to come in. I've been with friends, I've been so long, where do I begin? So I did something similar by adding these pad chords and these drums. I think what's interesting about these chords is that they're not traditional triads. These two are very similar with only this note changing, and these notes are only a step apart in the scale. This creates a lot of tension, which is great for these types of vibes. As you can see, there's no kick on this third bar here, which is pretty atypical, but since the chord comes in earlier, having no kick here makes it a more interesting bounce, and it's the same exact thing in No Chill. The next section of the song, the pad goes up an octave, and the hi-hats start to speed up a bit with more rolls and stuff, so I did something similar here. I also brought the vocal up an octave, but I took out the beginning and had it come in later on. This kind of makes it unexpected and adds a lot of ear candy. I want to break down some of the drum patterns a bit here because they are pretty interesting. For example, this little kick pattern right here, I took directly from No Chill, and it's a half step pattern and it sounds kind of offbeat, but it gives it a really interesting bounce. I also added these really cool snare rolls. This was kind of like my own little touch on it. You might have also noticed that even though we're in 82 BPM, the snare is coming in on the third beat instead of the 2 and 4. You'll hear this style of drums all over Party Next Door's music. The next part of No Chill, they start to add this really beautiful string melody, and the pattern is continuous and keeps on changing throughout the song. This was actually pretty difficult to replicate because those strings sound like actual live strings. I did manage to find a Kontakt bank that I think sounds really, really good and realistic, and I actually bought it just for this video. So make sure y'all leave a like because I'm putting you on game here. It's called the Joshua Bell Violin, and here's how it sounds. And that's pretty much it in terms of the elements in the beat. But now I'm just going to be giving y'all some bonus tips to capture this vibe. I think one of the most important things for this style of beat is making sure that there's space. Even if you're adding complex instrumentation like these strings here, there is a lot of space between the notes, and that's kind of what gives it that atmospheric vibe. Another thing is you kind of want to drown everything in reverb. I routed all the melodies to this effect bus here, and I have this very strong reverb on everything. Another thing that's really important and you don't want to sleep on is using textures and percussion loops because they add so much to it. Even though it's very subtle, helps add to that atmospheric vibe too. And also, don't be afraid to wash out your melodies or even some of your drums and percussion loops. And by wash out, I mean take out a lot of frequencies. This keeps it dark and kind of maintains the atmospheric vibe. You don't want things to be too bright. This especially applies to vocal samples as well. If you want to get the sounds I used in this beat, make sure you check out my kits. The links will be in the description. I also have some links to some free sounds as well, so definitely tap in with that. Let me know what songs you want me to break down next in the comments, or just what you guys want to see in general. Make sure you leave a like if you enjoyed this, and subscribe if you want to see more. But that's about it. Peace.